Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Ignite. Here we are, week 3. I want to check in. How's everybody doing? Good? Good. How was your weekend?
Good.
Yeah? And how were your contacts and connections? How was everything?
Didn't do like phone call completion, but I did make quite a few new connections. So good.
I'm glad to hear it. I think what I'll do is, we'll do our check-ins at the very end of class. And we'll just get rolling and get started with the legendary Kylie Lucas.
Legendary. I can't see anybody on the Zoom. Can you guys turn your cameras on if that's all right? It just helps with engagement. If you wouldn't mind, I'd sure appreciate it. Should be up there. Should be
Like gallery view.
Hey Coco. Question for you.
Let me see if I can change the view.
If you,
Well, we'll work on that. Anyway, my name's Kylie Lucas. I've been licensed for 33 years. And so have had a really great real estate career. I started out with Century 21 when I was, a lot younger, and went to Remax for I think 11 years, and then in 2009, I believe I joined KW. So I've been here since then. Brian, did you just get recently licensed?
yeah, so I'm still active duty military, doing skill bridge, so I got my license about a month ago.
Oh, okay. Okay, and what branch of the service are you in?
Air Force,
Thank you for your service.
sir.
Yeah.
We will figure this one out, Kylie.
All right.
Just get going. Go there.
All right, so today's class, we're gonna be talking about winning with sellers. And I wanna know, what would you like to get out of this class? What's important to you about this class?
I don't know, so new to this, I don't know.
Okay, that's fair.
that's kind of where I am, just like soaking in all the knowledge.
Okay, okay. Anybody online, care to share what you'd like to get out of this class?
I'm new to real estate, same as Brian. We're both in the same.
What's your name, please?
Luke.
Okay, Luke, I'm Kylie. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm in the same program as Brian, like the CSP program with the military.
Okay,
So honestly, any insight, knowledge, wisdom you want to pass down is I'm thankful for. So
awesome. Awesome. Anybody else out there in Zoom land want to check in?
Good morning, Kylie. It's Arian. I'm reigniting my career. I've been licensed for 20 years. I've done deals with you before too.
What's that?
I said I've done a couple deals with you a long time ago, so it's kind of fun to hear you again.
Kind of fun to see I'm still standing, huh?
Amen, all of us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here. Okay, anybody else out there? What you'd like to get out of this class? All right, so we're gonna talk about winning with sellers, and this is actually one of my favorite subjects, just because I got to a point in my career where I was too busy, and I had to make a choice, and working with sellers is a huge time leverage. Once you get in the business, you're gonna realize, if buyers take a lot more time. And obviously they need our help. And so, there's gotta be people that's their niche and that's what they love. In fact, one of the guys I used to work with, he wasn't on my team, but he switched from being a buyer's agent to a listing agent, and he went right back to a buyer's agent. He just felt more comfortable with buyers than he did with sellers. So there's no right or wrong way. But I'm gonna tell you what my broker, my first broker, who was an incredibly smart guy, name was Darcy Salmon. And he told me, if you don't list, you don't last. And it's very true. You've gotta have the listing part of this down. And it helps you become far more skillful, because a lot of buyers look at you as somebody who can open a door for them, right? They look at you as somebody who can get them the information they need. Sellers look at you as somebody they're signing a contract with for 3 months or 6 months or whatever it might be. And your value proposition has to be a lot clearer and a lot more powerful to get them to sign on the dotted line. So that's part of what we're gonna be talking about today. So, I don't even know if they can read this. Are you guys are all up to speed on your other courses and stuff, and, you know? Yeah, I can, so I guess I'm supposed to be doing this too.
Hold on.
We're having technical difficulties for those of you guys out in Zoom land.
Is it not working for you, Patty?
Well, we were in Zoom, so now we need to,
Try it
now he
now.
can do it.
Give
You
it
can
a
do it
quick,
now,
Patty.
to the right. Oh, no, I mean, to the
Oh.
right button. There you
Okay,
go.
There you go.
so you guys are all familiar with these new telemarketing rules and the new telephone rules. If they're on the do not call list, it's serious business. I know somebody who's been sued over this before, and it ain't pretty. So it bears taking, real care. Obviously, no guarantees on performance, especially not since I'm teaching the class. Haven't done it in a long time, but we'll see what we can come up with. Commissions are fully negotiable. There is no commission standard, and pricing will vary by agent and market conditions. And likewise, offers of cooperative compensation are fully negotiable and not required by law or practice. So good that you explain this to your people. Fair housing, obviously, we've all been briefed on fair housing, and it's also a very, very serious issue. So make sure everybody's being treated fairly and according to the fair housing laws. Spam, obviously, all your emails have to require the unsubscribe or opt out feature in them. And the AI disclaimer, any text or materials generated by artificial intelligence should be reviewed for accuracy and reliability. So AI is the new buzzword. Everybody's all on fire with AI. It can do amazing things. When you take a dinosaur like me, well, Mr. Walden, I'm still a T-Rex.
Okay.
But when you take, AI is something that's got me excited. It's a time leverage thing. It's amazing what you can find in a matter of seconds, but again, remember to use it wisely. Use it wisely and review what it's spitting out at you. Keller Williams materials are copyrighted. Here we go. Course overview, we're at the win with the seller. The one thing there's 3 words you guys should write down. And this isn't in their course material, this is coming from me, but the 3 most important words in real estate are communication, expectations, and education. And if you fail on any one of those 3 during your dealings with either buyers or sellers, chances are you're gonna have some challenges.
Communication and vision and what?
Communication, expectations, and education. So yeah, we're gonna be going through, I don't know which page I'm on here, but we'll figure it out. I guess we're gonna start out with A sellers. Does anybody have a definition for an A seller? You know what an A seller is? This is, by the way, this course is interactive, so all you guys, gals out there in Zoom land, please, yeah. Please let me know if, so what do we, what do you think an A seller is?
Somebody who's ready to sell right now.
Somebody who's ready to sell right now? That's a good answer. Brian, you got any idea what an A seller is?
One seller?
Huh?
Just one seller?
Yeah, an A seller.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is it just one seller compared to like sellers? I don't know what the A is.
Yeah, an A, like A, B, C, D. So an A buyer, an A seller, that means
Oh, like grade A.
grade A. Yeah. Yes, sir.
How about ones that true need to sell?
Boom. Are they motivated?
Are they motivated?
Are they motivated, right? And when do they want to sell? So yeah, a motivated seller is an A seller, and that's what you're looking for. And the other thing I want to tell you is, when it comes to sellers or when it comes to buyers, we're not in the convincing business. We're in the sorting business. We're just sorting to see whether the buyer's ready to buy, qualified to buy, whether the seller's willing to sell and able to sell. So, yeah. So yeah, you want somebody that's hopefully within 30 days, although obviously if they're within 60 days or 90 days, you put them in your nurture funnel. You know, get them on some kind of a campaign to keep in touch with them. And if they say they're ready to sell within 90 days, you better be keeping in real good touch with them every week. Every week they should get something of value, something to bring you top of mind, something to show your value. So, and what kind of questions do you think you might ask a seller to figure out if they're ready to buy or motivated? Anybody got any ideas on questions you might ask the seller?
How much do you get out of it?
Sure, you wanna know what they wanna get out of it, but what else?
Why are you selling?
Why are you selling? It's a great question, and I think Larry, the gentleman sitting next to you, taught me something one time. There was some people that were, actually, these were buyers, but they were buying a lot. And they wanted to buy it to split it for their 2 kids. It was a 2-acre lot. Well, what they didn't realize was this lot couldn't be split, and they ended up buying the lot. And so, why are you buying this lot? Because I want to split it for my 2 kids. That should have queued the agent up to go looking at the covenants to see if the lot could be split. And it couldn't. And the guy had already bought the property. So that's exactly why why are you selling? Yep, it may be their mother needs medical help, their family needs some kind of help, being relocated for a job. You have to know why they're selling. It's a big motivation point.
Yeah, I think one of the other questions is, are you behind? How do you stand on your mortgage? If you have a mortgage, you're behind in your mortgage.
Right.
Because sometimes years ago, I had a client went to look at it and said, we need to sell now because we're about within 60 days of being foreclosed on. And I ran a CMA and they had over $80,000 of equity. And yet they were going to be foreclosed on and lose everything.
Yep. And I've had it where I didn't ask that question, Larry, and I got a call that said, hey, my property is going to the courthouse steps to be foreclosed on next week. And I didn't ask the question about how are you financially? Are you current on all your payments? And I usually preface it now because it's a real sensitive subject. If people are behind on their payments, I always start by saying, due to the recent things that happened during COVID, many people found themselves on hard times. Are you current on your payments? I don't want to be nosy, but I want to make sure you're current. So that's one of the ways I preface it now, just to kind of ease into it. So yeah, you definitely wanna ask, why are you selling? Are you current on your payments? Are there any special circumstances that I should know about? 'Cause they may be getting a divorce. There may be a lot of different reasons that they're selling this property, and I'm telling you, if you don't know them, it's tough to give them great advice, guidance, and counsel, and that's why we're there, right? So,
Better disclose that, though, you're not liable.
It's important to know.
it's
Super
super,
bad look for sure, but you're not responsible for it, like they didn't tell you and then they foreclosed it.
Well, I mean, if you don't know, one thing, you spent all your time working for nothing, you're gonna get sick. Yeah, number one, so you wasted your time. Number two is if you haven't asked a question, you can't properly serve your client, if you don't have all the information. They have, I mean, some people just want as much money as they can get, other people need to sell, other people have debts in their family. And the other thing that I found in my many years is that every day, a seller or a buyer's position changes.
good point.
Something can happen in life, they could, a child, family member can get ill. On the other hand, they could won the lottery last week and don't give a shit and don't wanna sell now. I mean, but the whole thing, everything changes for buyers and sellers on a daily basis. So just because they said no to a low offer yesterday, doesn't mean today something didn't happen and now they'll accept that.
Correct. That's a great point, Larry. Thank you. Yeah. So, yeah, and that comes back to the communication piece, right? How often are you communicating? What kind of questions are you asking them? How well are you listening to what they're telling you? Because that's a huge piece is listening to what they're saying. And once you start getting further along down the line in your career, you're gonna start hearing things that aren't said. You're gonna start watching body language. You're gonna see people tense up. And these are all things that when you're sitting at the kitchen table, that you have to pay really close attention to. So communication is huge.
Kylie, when you said kitchen table. That's something we're used to in the old world of real estate of being at your kitchen, because you're not gonna get once you've been invited and can sit down at their kitchen table, you really can get all the information for real. Okay, a text doesn't tell you what you'll be found out at
Nope.
the kitchen table. The kitchen table is inside the home with the ability to get all the information is.
It's where their families gather.
And so anytime you have a client and they ask you to come to their house and sit down. If you don't say yes, you've missed it, golden opportunity,
100%.
because that's the kitchen table is the keys to the kingdom, really. That's over the years. Sorry.
Oh, I agree, and I still do it.
Oh, yeah,
I love going to their, hey, how about I come to your place and let's have a conversation?
Yep.
But it also we weigh in, I'm just gonna chime in here real quick too, Kylie.
Please.
Like-
No, this is what I love.
Yeah, and especially when you're going to get the appointment, it really also depends on how you read them, on whether you want to meet on their turf or your turf. And I like to look at it that way too, so we'll get into that, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Can you guys in Zoom land, can you all hear us real well?
I'm hearing you just fine.
Yes, thank you.
Great. Okay, so we're talking about sellers and we're moving into getting the appointment. And, it's one thing to have somebody call you and say, I'm getting relocated to Texas and I need to sell my home in 30 days. And is there a possibility I'd like to talk? We're gonna interview 2 or 3 agents, but it's another to get the appointment. And so you've got to have conversion skills. And one of the things Gary Keller said, and I'll never forget this early in my career, he says, if you don't know your scripts, you're dead in the water. Everything else doesn't matter. If you don't have scripts to convert people from the phone call, the sign call, the walk in the office, if you don't have scripts to convert them to an appointment, not, you're dead right there. So there's a ton of scripts in Command, and I guess it would be in Connect or KW University. Avail yourselves of those. They're some of the best in the business. So make sure you check those out. Our goal of every phone call should be to get an appointment. That's the goal. If, you know, obviously you don't wanna get them into a corner, but if the conversation flows to where you can see that they're gonna be selling, you know, that's the goal, is to get the appointment. To sit down and get those questions answered. Let's see here. While leads are vital to your sales business, seller listings are critical to your ability to build it to its highest level with the lowest costs and the highest net. Yep, listings are leverage. Larry, what happens when you list a property?
Oh, you got a key to lots of business, because the phone rings from new clients every time from the sign, number one. Number two, it's an opportunity to sell many clients different properties. This simply makes the phone ring. Is what a listing. When I first got into business a jillion years ago, my mentor told me that listings are a gift from the gods. It was his term. Here's your chance to get in the stairway and meet the world, because whether that listing sells or not, you get a chance to meet a lot of people, a lot of different things. Well, one listing, you know, there was one guy I knew that he had a house listed. He never could sell the house, but he said 62 homes he sold from having that listing. And so in time, he bought it. And didn't put it for sale, because it was an instant lead house.
Right, right. See, that's a great story. That's a great story. And, listings, once you have a listing that's properly priced, the buyers will come. It's just how it is for sure. So, seller listings mean marketing opportunities. You have more control of your time with the listings. You know, they maximize your per hour compensation, and we're all in business to make a profit. You know, so they maximize your per hour compensation. You can do more volumes. You can sell more homes than you can working with buyers. You sell way more listings. And you're also on the front end of the pricing. You control the pricing as long as the sellers are gonna be realistic. You control the pricing. And properly marketing listings, it just brings you more business. It compounds into more business. So it's one of the greatest lead generation tools you can have is good listings. Here's the triangle. This is Gary Keller's triangle. Everything starts with the leads, listings, and leverage. And I've had some of the guys that sell really a lot of real estate have said, if you got listings as the base, you're gonna get the leads, right? And just like what Larry just said. So leads, listings, and leverage is the absolute key. And I don't know if this is following my course here or not. I guess I'm a little ahead of myself. So all of our clients are amazing, and we're grateful for them for choosing us. Therefore, we give them our best work and efforts. Sellers are special because they bring us listings. The basis of a great real estate business are leads, listings, and leverage. We love listings because they're not just a commission and the ability to build a relationship for repeat and referral business, but they bring us the best marketing opportunity in real estate to give us more control over our time. So yeah, it's everything surrounds listings. So if you guys can get good at a listing presentation, you're gonna be way ahead of the games. Way ahead of the game. And we just talked about this. So it means marketing opportunities, control of your time, maximum hour compensation, drives up your volume, front end of pricing, and You know, it brings you more business. So that's. Anybody have any comments on that? Here is the seller service cycle. And it's 7 steps. There we go. 1 is leads conversion, 2 is the pre-listing, 3 is the listing consultation, 4 is servicing and marketing, 5 is offers and negotiations, number 6 is contract to close, and number 7 is post-close systems. So, look at the 7-step service model. This model is proven to reap success with sellers. The success comes in any market with any seller. So far in Ignite, you've prepared yourself to show your leads the value you bring in their real estate journey. You've lead generated, you've followed up with those leads, and you've qualified them in order to know how your follow-up should be structured. And now we're gonna take you and move those A leads to the listing consultation. So, you guys have any ahas so far, as far as listings or leads or anything we've talked about so far?
Just never thought about the seller side house. I've only dealt with 2 buyers now, and it definitely took up a lot of time.
Yep.
Lots.
And here's, I'm glad you brought that up, Brian, because here's something I'll tell you. If you have a great buyer consultation, and I mean where you get into depth and you ask the right questions and you ask those questions 3 deep, like you ask them, you know, what are you looking for in a neighborhood? Well, I just don't want my houses too close together. Well, tell me more about that. They may be thinking they want a 5-acre tract, you know, and you're showing them half-acre lots. So the more in depth if you spend an hour to an hour and a half on that front end buyer consultation, you will cut way down in almost all circumstances on the amount of homes you show them. Would you agree, Larry?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Even I was a pain in the butt when I bought my house with Matt up here. Like, we would drive up to the place. I'm like, no. Until we wasted the time even showing up there.
Sure.
But also, I let my wife show up to the place to look at these two.
Sure. Anybody else have any comments so far? Any ahas? Okay, we're gonna talk about how to convert those A sellers. Just like with buyers, the key to converting A seller leads are respond right away. Do you know what the research shows on response times? If you respond within under 5 minutes, you're 26% more likely to get a deal together.
First guy in the door.
Yep, first guy in the door. And
Or gal.
even at my stage of the game, you know, and we are now in an instant gratification society. The millennials and the Gen Xers and the Gen Zers, they're way more impatient than people back in the day. They want information and they want it right now. And if they're not getting it from you, they're getting it from somebody else. So lead response time is critical. Get valid and complete contact information and save it to command and create the opportunity. One of the things that I would encourage everybody in this class to do is make sure you have a seller's lead sheet that will walk you through a lot of the questions you should be asking them, because you get in the heat of the moment, you forget to ask important stuff. And it's really, really helpful for you to go back and reconnect with them, especially if they're not ready to sell right away. So make sure you have a valid and complete contact information. And like Larry was saying, determine their motivation so you can sell and speak to it. You gotta know what's driving them. You have to know it. It's critical. And set an appointment time and date as soon as possible and get them a pre-listing packet. That's the other thing I would say to you. Try to move up their timeline on that listing appointment, even if they're not ready to sell right now. Be there so you're building the relationship with them instead of the next guy up. It's real important. What do you think sellers want from their agent? Well, 21%, and this comes from the 2021 profile of home buyers and sellers, which actually, we should actually update that. We should get them to update that. At this time, 21% wanted to help their home to be priced competitively and needed our help with that. 20% wanted to help with their marketing to potential buyers. 16% wanted to help them sell the home within a specific time frame, and another 16% wanted advice, guidance, and counsel on what to do to fix up their home, what they should be spending on and what they shouldn't be spending on money on. You know, so, and then 27%, they wanted other stuff from us. They wanted, they had other questions, and it's just not specific on what that is. Build confidence and trust. As you talk to the seller to get an appointment, remember that these conversations lay the foundation to your working relationship. Your first goal is connecting to build confidence and trust. You do that by exuding confidence in yourself and showing attentive professionalism by asking the right questions. You guys, one of the things I've learned in the last couple of years is how impactful the right questions are at building trust. It's everything. The questions you ask help to build trust. And so that's one of the things it shows you care, right? If you're asking the questions that are important to the sellers, and in fact, one of the things I do before I even start my listing consultation always is say, I want to talk about first, before we get into this consultation, about what's important to you. Because until you, let's say they got 3 things that are super important to them. Until you address those, they're only hearing part of what you say to them. So yeah, it's important to find out what's important to them, and that's what helps build the trust. Your focus on this process of asking the questions is not to sell, it's to provide value to meet their real estate needs and secure the appointment. They need to experience what it's like to work with an agent who asks questions, listens, and cares, right? So, it's a delicate balance. Show them, and see why they should be confident. And while you're not overtaking the conversation by asking too few questions, but and not showing enough care about the answers, so you definitely want to ask and give them time to respond. And the other thing is, you're going to learn to not take the first answer that they give you. You can use questions to say, could you share more with me about that? Could you help me understand that a little better? Why is that important to you? When you ask questions 2 and 3 deep, now you start getting to the real answer, and so that's a skill you're going to want to develop. 7 close to appointment tactics, and you want to show the benefits of working with you. The take back close, the negative positive close, give them what they're looking for, the trial close, the assumptive close. I don't even remember what some of these closes are, to be honest with you. I can tell you what the assumptive close. Well, when I list your home, here's what we're gonna do for you. That's assuming they're just gonna list with you, and tie downs are, you can see how that would be helpful, couldn't you? Things like that. So those are all things that help you close. It sounds like you're ready to meet. Would this week work well for you? Could we set an appointment this week that would work for you? So those are different things. And this goes to the language of sales, guys. Whether you like it or not, we're in the sales business. And there's good salesmen, there's great salesmen or persons, and they're shitty salespersons. Don't be one of the shitty ones. Just, learn these, the language is important in this business. It's super important. What you say, how you say it, and when to say it, it's super important. So you're gonna wanna look these closes up and see if they're appropriate to use during your consultation.
Yep, and we covered this in section 14, so you guys have that in your book when we covered this before.
Okay, so we already covered this?
Yes, we covered the close tactics.
So here's what I'm gonna tell you about objections, guys. They're a gift. Some people feel like they're getting pushed back on, or they're getting resistance. Objections are a gift to find out how good you are. Never ever push back on their objections. Say, I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, and I'd like to share this with you. So you first have to validate them if they have an objection. And here's something I learned from somebody, Larry, you'll recognize this name, Mike Ferry. Mike Ferry was one of the original sales trainers back in the day when Larry and I were young pups.
You were.
Okay, I was. But Mike Ferry said this, and this applies to both buyers and sellers. This is one of the most important things I learned in this business in 33 years. There are only so many seller objections, and there are only so many buyer objections. You have to know the responses to them. Period. There's only so many objections. You have to know the responses to them. So that's something I would take a note on. Okay, what happened there? Anybody got any ahas so far? Anybody out in Zoom land? You got anything for us? Okay. So you got the appointment. You set an appointment, and how many of you have a pre-listing packet already? You got a pre-listing packet? Okay, this is important. The Keller Williams has got an area in, I think it's KW Connect,
Yeah, that shows for that.
and it's in designs and that should be your homework. But this week, get you a pre-listing packet. I'm telling you, it's the difference between an amateur and a pro.
Yeah.
So that's a recommendation for you, is make sure you got a pre-listing packet.
Hey, guy,
Yeah,
I added one thing to the pre-listing appointment, is that, which was an idea given to me many years ago. Now that we have the computers and ability to research our clients, do they own other properties and so forth. So, I get a call from a client, says, we'd like to meet with you and go over possibly listing our house. So I go online and upload a copy of their, of the muni or railroad information on the property. And then I also check and see what other properties they own. Do they own other duplexes? Do they own land? What other types of property do they own? Okay, so if they have several duplexes, do a real quick CMA on what the price range, if in the event they would want to sell their duplexes, and just put that in the file along with it. And, or if they own other land, so forth. And so the next question after we talked about the house, well, I said, I noticed you own other properties. Are you interested in either selling your duplex, or you're looking for more other income properties to buy? And have one or two of what's currently on the market. Well, this is what's on the market right now, just for your general information. And they'll sit there and look at me and says, you want to talk about all our real estate? I said, that's why I'm here. And the surprised look on their face when you prepared for not just the house, but what other stuff they may own. And you walk into the door. The best response I got was, I got a $1.2 million income property listing. How to go and list the house.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful, it's a
Beautiful thing.
But don't be afraid to branch it out, once you've completed the information on the house, but notice say. Notify the tax force, they're public records, I mean, there's, sometimes they'll just shut you down and say, no, we're really not, or sometimes they'll say, well, that's interesting, it's another window.
Yep, yep, gotta look for all the opportunities there, guys. So. In the Keller Williams, stuff, they talk about going from E to P, going from entrepreneurial to purposeful. And the one thing I would tell you, the ones of you that are new at this, get purposeful as quick as you can. Because entrepreneurial is fine, but, it's a long road. It's a long road with a lot of potholes. I know a lot of people get in this business because they're creative and they're high eyes, but Keller Williams, what set Keller Williams apart early on was the models and systems they chose. It's all at your fingertips now. When Larry and I started this business, and he was even started before I did, they had none of that, nothing. And so get purposeful about digging into the models and systems, and once you hit it, bump up against that ceiling of achievement, you'll crash right through it with these models and systems. So that's your pro tip of the morning. So why have a pre-listing packet? Well, it pre-sells you, right? They get a pre-look at you. They get a look at who you are. They get a look at your biography. They might get a look at how long you've been in the business, or what team you're with, if your team brings a lot of value. It builds the seller's confidence, helps them answer questions and objections before you ever get to the table. So, yeah, it's important. It's really important that you have this. I didn't have one for a lot of my career. And once I got it, it just does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. It saves times, it makes the consultation experience smoother or shorter by tackling common obstacles, and it helps you state your value. It tells the seller what you're bringing to the table. Will you review it in the listing presentation? I tend to just hit the high points of it. I asked, did you have a chance to look through my listing, pre-listing pad? If they say yes, that shows me that they're interested enough to want some details. Was there anything that stood out to you in my pre-listing packet? And does it eliminate the need for a listing consultation? Absolutely not. Unless they say, look, I got an appointment at 12:30 and we just need to get the listing paperwork done here right away, then you can skip it, but I wouldn't recommend it. So, and is it a primer for education you will provide at the listing consultation? And it absolutely is. You're gonna expound on the important points of that because it brings social proof. It's the reviews you have that you may have gotten, the testimonials clients have left you. It brings a lot of third-party validation to you. So. And again, if you go down there to kwconnect.com, page industry resource, it'll help you, it'll help you put one together in no time at all. No time at all. Highly recommended. Seller consultation preparation checklist. Make sure your pre-listing packet is delivered. Make sure you confirm the appointment date. I can't tell you how many appointments I've gone on where, oh yeah, I forgot. I made an appointment with you and I'm in Eagle River or I'm in Anchorage. So confirm your appointment that day. It's good to know that all the decision makers are going to be there so you don't have to double up your time. You want to complete and practice your listing presentation. One of the ways you can do that, what are some of the ways we can do that? Practice with somebody else, role play, real play, right? What else? How about videotaping your listing presentation. That would be a great way to do it. And nowadays with these iPhones and with the video phones we got, it's super easy. Super easy to do. I'd highly recommend you do it.
Have you ever noticed like how if you script everything out and then somebody says something like it just takes it the opposite direction or whatever, it kind of throws you off? So it's like, I don't know, being in the military for 20 years, I never once planned a speech with a script,
Uh-huh.
just had points, because it would always get sidebarred somewhere and then I would just beat it back. So if I kept it, I don't know if you keep it just like bullet points.
You can, and a lot of times you're right, rabbit trails happen. That's a given. Rabbit trails are gonna happen, and if you're like me, staying back on track is tough. So what I generally say is that's a great question. We're gonna get to that in a minute. I'd like to just finish up with this and then I'll answer that question for you. So, but yeah, you can get off track pretty good, and having it bullet pointed is a good way to do it. Review the lead sheet. I don't know I'm not sure what they mean by that.
So we went over lead sheets, like when qualifying
Oh,
buyers and sellers.
Okay,
So
okay.
pre-listing lead sheet, and so we covered that before, and it's in your.
Right, you wanna review what their high points were, and they're also called triggers, right? I really want a big yard, I want a fenced yard, I wanna be in the Colony School District, or my home's over here and my home's got these special features. You wanna make sure you bring that up so they know you were listening, right? So, yeah. Arrive to the listing presentation in a professional manner. Now, here's where you're gonna get Kylie's 2 cents worth. If you ain't 5 minutes early, you're late. That's my own personal opinion. It shows respect for the other people's time. I cannot tell you the number of times I've knocked on the door 5 to 10 minutes early. And they said, wow, we can't believe you're here on time. And I go, really? Well, so, yeah, and it also helps with hiccups in traffic and stuff like that. So make sure you're there 5 to 10 minutes early. It just shows you're a professional. Any ahas about the pre-listing packet? Okay. You guys are an easy crowd today. Either that or a hard one, I'm not sure. So we've gotten to the listing appointments. You've got your checklist, your packet has been delivered, you've confirmed the appointment. Ensured all the decision makers are gonna be there. You've practiced your listing consultation. You reviewed your lead sheet to make sure you know all the important stuff that they're gonna wanna go over. And you arrive at the listing presentation in a professional manner. Dressed appropriately. And make sure the materials you bring are valuable to what they're looking to do. So obviously the goal is to get a signed listing agreement, right? In order to create a great impression to build the seller's confidence, as you as the real estate agent of choice, there's 2 schools of thought on sharing your pricing recommendations. Sharon, do you share your pricing recommendations at the listing consult?
I do,
Do you?
I do.
Yeah, there's some.
I ask questions first.
Right, there's some people that hold it back. I tend to agree with you. I'm there to give them the information and hopefully I win on the merits of my value that I bring. Some people say, well, if they're not gonna list with me, I'm not gonna tell them what their house is worth. Well, I just don't agree with that. I agree with you. Bring them as much information as you can, you provide them. Now, I might not give it to them at the consultation. I might have to go back if they've got some special features or things I need to research a little more. I might give it to them, within 24 hours. But, yeah, I share your pricing recommendations and the initial price for their property and your reasoning behind it. Make sure when you're sharing these pricing recommendations, they're not from you. They're based on the best market data that's available to us. Let the market do the heavy lifting for you. And then as far as marketing goes, make sure you find out what their expectations are about the marketing. I mean, we're on we're on over 300 websites and search engines. We're on the Craigslist, we're on the marketplace. So, I mean, the digital marketing, this was never available when I started. None of it. So we had the Homes and Land magazine, we had the Frontiersman, we had the Anchorage Daily News, and that's all gone by the wayside. So, yeah, so, but make sure you set really good, there's that word again, communication, expectations. If you're not setting expectations on how you're gonna market the home, you're gonna have disappointed sellers if they wanted it, you know, somewhere that you're not marketing it. So how does the listing presentation meet the seller's needs and wants? You know, it's basically what it is. It's about their needs and wants. Everything in this thing is about their needs and wants. At the end of the day, real estate is a relationship business, and the listing presentation is about helping to build that relationship. That's important. Doing this piece right will go a very long way into earning their current and future business. When you present your listing presentation, get ready to take notes and listen. So that's one of the things we talked about earlier. You know, visualize, you know, find out what does their dream scenario look like? What does a 5-star experience look like for them? What is a world-class home selling experience to them? Know the answers to those things. What's the one thing that has to happen to make this a dream scenario for you? You know, think that would be important. Why is that important to you? And a great question is, if we could add just one more thing to make this even better, what would it be? What would it be? The seller's needs obviously come first. You know, we just talked about this, you know, as far as what kind of questions we should be asking them. What's the most important thing to you about the sale of this property? Well, it might be they have to be in Houston in 30 days. It might be they have to net a certain amount of money. You know, you have to find out what's important to them about the sale of this home. It might be they want to be communicated with more than you're willing to communicate with them. I want you to call me every day at 7:30 a.m. And you might say that's not realistic, you know. Find out if you're the best fit for them. And it's not about just getting the listing. Are they a good fit for you and how you do business? Because if they're not, it can be a long road. Can you move that down?
Oh, yes, sir.
I am knowledgeable and caring and the best agent for these clients. They will appreciate my expertise in preparation and choose me to represent them as they sell their home. And doggone it, they like me. Remember Stuart Smalley?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I'm knowledgeable and caring. So this is an affirmation for people that are selling their home. There's nothing wrong with affirmations as long as they're backed up by actions and research and being super prepared. You know, like I say, affirmations without actions they're not the best way to go. You want to take action, and your action is in your preparation and your planning for these folks. Opportunities, update at every stage of your relationship in the transaction. So these CRMs that you're using, they're there for a reason. They're there to leverage. They're there to keep you on track. Hey, Tyler. Morning. And so you're gonna wanna get really good, because if you wanna be one of these people that tries to remember everything, sooner or later it's gonna come back to bite you. You gotta utilize these CRMs. Yeah. The listing presentation is where you show off your hard work and research and get the listing. In addition to going through the listing presentation, you preview the home and ask for the listing agreement. And then don't forget to update your CRM. So the walkthrough, so there's several different theories on this. One of the things they say in this course is you wanna ask, you wanna ask the seller to leave your listing materials on the kitchen table, cause that's where you're gonna wanna gather to do the listing consultation. And some people believe you should ask them, you say, I'd like to do this walkthrough myself so that I can look at your home through the eyes of a buyer. I prefer to have them walk through it with me. I like to have them walk in there. I like to get their feedback on updates they've made, different things, why they did certain remodels or stuff. And it also gives me a little chance to build a little more rapport with them. So do it whatever way you want. It's the important piece of this is to establish yourself as knowledgeable and professional. Greet your potential clients, thank them for the opportunity, ask them if you can leave your things at the kitchen table, like I said. And it's also a good idea to always compliment them on something about the home. This is your potential client's home after all, and they are likely proud of it. And a compliment isn't just kind, it shows that you see value in their home. So, you're gonna wanna really look closely at their home and look at the condition of their home to make sure it's what they said and what you thought. This is more important than I can tell you. So the story behind this is there were three realtors that were given a chance to do a presentation for a developer. And I don't know whether this was in Colorado or Utah, but the developer had 4,000 acres. And he said, I'm gonna give one of you a chance to, and this was condos, this was residential, this was ski village type commercial stuff, millions of dollars in commissions. And when he called the guy on Monday morning after all three did their presentation, the guy said, I'm gonna choose you to list these properties. And he said, may I ask you why? He said, yeah. He said, basically, all three of your presentations were the same. There was no difference in your presentations. He said, you sent me a thank you card.
Wow.
That's a true story. So don't underestimate this. You wanna tip, have the card made out in your listing packet. And when you get done with the listing consultation, go mail it. So they get it the next day. Just a tip. And it's, that's worth the price of admission here, by the way. So, yeah, whether you get the listing or not, always send the seller a handwritten thank you card immediately after the appointment. It may seem like a small thing. However, as we discussed, handwritten notes stand out in our digital world. So I love the thank you card thing. The goal is always to get the listing agreement signed at the end of the listing, but you may need to go back and do more research. You may need to, you want to make sure you got your numbers right. You just don't want to be spewing numbers at them. And so one of the questions you might ask is, do you believe I'm the best person to sell your home? Find out, take their temperature a little bit. It's a trial close. You believe I'm the best person to sell your home? And say, great, I'll be getting you the rest of the information by tomorrow morning and following up with you, so.
I'll send this out to them for giving us feedback.
Right, yeah, and so, yep, feedback is the breakfast of champions. I would appreciate it if you guys could fill one of these out after the class. KW Cares, are you guys all familiar with KW Cares?
Yes, we discussed it.
Okay, good. Good, so KW Cares does a lot of good in our industry and part of why we're in this good caring company. KW Next Gen. For the young guns who are just getting started in the industry. I'd highly recommend you check it out if you don't know what it is. But they serve the young professionals and entrepreneurs under 30 looking to grow personally and professionally and financially. The ahas so far. Right. So the listing agreement. Yes.
And I'll actually do this after the fact, so that way I can have packets prepared. later,
Okay, so you're gonna get the listing
We'll
agreement
get the
too?
listing agreement together, and I
Okay,
can go over it, today at the end.
perfect. Perfect. So we're not doing that.
Mhm.
Anything that comes to your mind about how your thinking's changed over what we've talked about?
Being like, when you said there were great real estate agents and, we're always there. Back through the ones that we've used and noticing the things that you mentioned here. With what they did or didn't do,
Right.
kind of makes me see better what I should and shouldn't.
Let me ask you a question. The ones that you consider to be the really, really good ones, you felt they cared deeply about you and your husband's needs? You can't fake caring. You can't fake caring. You can fake a lot of things. Caring isn't one of them. So yeah, and you guys, everybody in this business has a choice. To be mediocre or to be really good. And to me, it's no choice. You just want to, we're helping them with the most important sale or purchase of their life, more than likely. Decide to be great at it. Decide to go the extra mile. Decide to be the one that shows them you care more than the other ones do. And believe me, in this industry, after 33 years, it's not that hard to do. It's not that hard to stand out in this industry. So I'm just trying to see if I lost my place here.
No, I think we're good. This is really coming to a wrap to the end where we can actually open up the floor to questions.
Yeah,
And then let me see if I can change the view here. Those of you guys on Zoom, do you all have any questions for Kylie or,
this is your chance. Stump the realtor.
let's see, who do we have? All right, let me see who we have and maybe we'll just call on folks. So we have Arian, we have Cameron, we have Luke, we also have, we have Tara in the Anchorage office. She's with the Darwalden team. Is Toby there as well, Tara?
Toby is actually doing a place onboarding right now, so he is not available. And you're an excellent speaker. I've appreciated all of this. I am strictly a buyer's agent, so I don't have a ton of questions as far as sellers, but it's been wonderful to listen. Thank you.
Well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, so how about you guys? Everybody else on Zoom, Luke?
Yeah,
Arian?
I do have a question.
Great.
So I am more of, 'cause I'm still, when I get done with my CSP, I'm still like going back to full-time military, so I won't really be, I guess, a full-time agent. I'm gonna be
Okay.
kind of transitioning into like a referral-based kind of person.
Sure.
What kind of like advice for a referral? Like, should I still try to get all the information from a potential referral to pass on to the other agent, or should I just get like, a handful of things and then just push it on?
That's a good question, Luke. And I guess what I would say is get as much information as you can. I mean, it's it's always helpful when you're getting a referral to have somebody that's dug in a little bit and said, you know, we take these referrals, we take helping you very seriously. And I'm currently in a referral status, or I'm currently working with somebody I really trust that I'd like to have help you. And so would you mind if I took a few minutes to ask you some important questions so that we can give you excellent service? So, yeah, I think from my perspective, I want to give them all the information I can. And the other piece is you want to make sure whoever you're referring them to is going to go the extra mile for them, not just somebody who's looking to turn and burn, right?
Right.
You know, there's a saying in this business, you can be transactional or you can be transformational. I recommend the latter.
Right.
There's
I guess
enough
my-
out there.
I guess my concern with it is like, I don't want to ask somebody, 1,000 questions and then pass them to an agent, and that agent asks them the same exact questions. They're like, well, I already did this. Like,
Sure. You don't need to ask them 1,000, but for example, you could certainly do the LP Mama and get the basic information, get their best contact information. How do they want to be contacted? When is the best time to contact them? That kind of stuff, to make it a good experience for them. So yeah, just the basics would be fine. But and like I say, the most important piece of this is know who you're referring them to, make sure they're gonna get back with them immediately, and that they're willing to go the extra mile and do a great job for them.
awesome. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Anyone else on Zoom? Any other questions for Kylie?
All right.
All right. Super. Well, Heidi, thank you very much for sharing your wisdom and insights. Is there anything else that you'd like to add? Like, what is the best advice you can give someone who is starting out in the business, who is getting in front of sellers? Or it doesn't even need to be just in front of sellers. Like, what is one piece of advice you would give someone just starting out in real estate?
The best piece of advice I have for you guys is this. Who you will become in the next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years is directly related to the books you read, the seminars you attend, the webinars you attend, the podcasts you listen to. Income rarely exceeds personal development. When I started in this business, I had just come off owning a lodge. My partner and I owned a lodge. And let's just put it this way. I needed to grow a lot as a human being. And my broker handed me a set of, this is how long ago it was, handed me a set of cassette tapes that I've listened to no less than 100 times. And if you want to put this guy's name down, I recommend it. His name is Jim Rohn, JIMROHN, Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn, Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, who's the guy? Stephen Covey.
Mhm.
All these people will help you grow as a person. We're in the relationship business, guys. We're gonna be dealing with people that are going through cancer. We're gonna be dealing with people that are going through financial hardships. We're gonna be dealing with people that are going through family breakups. We are gonna be dealing with people that lost their jobs. And all of these things, the more you grow as a human being, the more you're gonna help these people, walk alongside these people that need us. They need us big time. And so I will tell you that every chance you can the other guy's name I would give you is Darren Hardy. Darren Hardy is phenomenal when it comes to building a business or personal development. He's one of Jim Rohn's best students ever. So read as much as you can, listen as much as you can, grow as much as you can would be my best advice to you guys. The real estate part of this is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. It's the people part, and it's the relationship part and going the extra mile part that we gotta dig for in ourselves. And this is an absolute fabulous career if you decide to take it seriously. It's been beyond my wildest dreams. It's also one of the hardest things I've ever done. To be quite honest. So I really appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys taking it serious enough to do the work to become better. And I'll leave you with a little quote. It's a Jim Rohn quote. It's work hard on your job, you'll make a living. Work hard on yourself and you can make a fortune. So there's the personal development piece for you. Work hard on yourself.
Kylie, do you feel like you've grown a lot in 33 years?
Not enough, but I've grown tremendously. I have grown tremendously. And the reason is because after 33 years, I still read 10 pages a day of something that's going to help me grow. I read 10 pages a day. I listen to every single podcast that I can. My most recent book that I just read, that I just finished, which is absolutely wonderful, I'd highly recommend it, is called The 5 Types of Wealth by Sahil Bloom. You know, there's way more than one type of wealth, and money's not at the top. But yeah, I've grown tremendously, but I've been purposeful about it. You can't let it happen by accident. You've got to, every day, you know, there's got to be the core things that you do to hopefully self-improvement, right?
It makes me think about a quote, if you're not growing, you're dying. And so I hope.
Bob
that-
Dylan.
Right, right. So it's, to me, it's like, this is super important. Can you guys see that after 33 years, Kylie is continuing to grow. He's continuing to fertilize his mind so he can stretch and grow. Because I think if you stop, then, and you think, I've made it, I know everything, then you're not staying curious and you're stuck. You're going to be stuck at a ceiling. I want to share with you, when I first started in real estate, the best advice I can give you guys is check your mindset. Check your mindset. If attitude is everything, that little voice in your head that's telling you that you can't, then you won't. And surround yourself with the people who are growing or who have paved the way. And when I first started, I met Mr. Kylie Lucas, and he recommended Jim Rohn. And what do you think I did? I went and listened to Jim Rohn, and that, oh, I got chills. That completely changed my first year in business and my mindset. Completely. Zig Ziglar, Kylie, what else should I read? Zig Ziglar. Okay, so I did listen to Zig Ziglar. He even has mirror work for you to do. Google it. Find Zig Ziglar. He has mirror work and affirmations and stuff that you can work on yourself. Darren Hardy. I started following Darren Hardy. Kylie, what else do I need to listen to? Reach into the wisdom of those who have paved the path before us. Even now, like 11 years later, I mean, I'm still a baby age. Maybe I'm toddling, right? So even now, like, we'll go through our ups and downs and our dips in real estate, and it's like, okay, where's my mindset? And then it's like, hey, Kylie, let's meet for coffee. Like, reach out to the greats. I really appreciate Kylie's wisdom, and he is continually growing. He's setting the standard of what it looks like to look at myself and how do we continue to grow. And if you're not doing it, then, you know, you're gonna stay stuck and frustrated.
The other thing I'll tell you guys is you can call me anytime you want. If you got a question, I'm happy to answer it. anytime. You know, people shared with me, people that were way ahead of me, way better than I was, and I would ask them questions, and almost all of them were willing to share. So whatever I got to help you along the way, I'm happy to do that. The other thing I'm gonna say, when Sharon talked about mindset, something I came across recently. In today's age, look at the news and what do you see? You see hate, you see wars, you see murders, you see rapes, you see riots, you see shootings, you see garbage, you see, it's garbage. And so stand guard at the gates of your mind. You've got to continually be pouring in positive, 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 because that'll help flush out all the rest of the garbage that's constantly coming at us, right? We live in a world that's full of garbage, but it's also got so many cool things. What are you gonna focus on? What is one of the bold laws? What you focus on expands. Where your mind goes, your energy flows.
Yep.
You know, so I really hope you guys will take on this personal development challenge and look into everything you can. Now, some of the stuff that resonated with me may not resonate with you guys, but find somebody who does. There's so many good. Ed Milet. I don't know if any of you've heard Ed Milet speak. Mylett. Bring chills to you. Yeah. And one of the things you're gonna find out about a lot of these greats is they overcame a lot of adversity. So, yeah, anytime you guys got questions, I am happy to answer anything I can for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Kathy.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we're gonna take a little bit of a break. We have some time. For those of you on Zoom, take a 10-minute break. We'll come back and I'm going to upload documents that we need to review for a listing
I
presentation.
came prepared.
Look at, maybe had like even markers in the pocket.
I didn't know what I was getting into.
I know.
Thank you, guys. It was a privilege being here with you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Brian.
Thanks, Ivy.
You bet. Thank you.
All right, so let me open this up real quick. All right, welcome back, guys. So we're gonna talk about the paperwork that you need for your listing, when you're actually going to sit down and sit down with someone and have a conversation regarding real estate to list their home. And so I'm here in the Flex MLS website. And I'll just walk you through step by step. Let me just go into menu. Let's just go into my homepage here. Okay, so I'm here and normally we'll go into transaction desk. And that's where I uploaded all of my documents. And I'm just gonna walk you guys through this before we get started on our next session for Ignite. So once we're here, we can start a new transaction. So I create a transaction here. And I did that already here, but I'm gonna walk you through it. So create a transaction. It gives you like the classic transactions or new transactions, which shows some improvements. I'm just gonna walk you through the legacy transaction. You can give a name to your listing. Sometimes I like, for instance, I'll use the street name, maybe something like Meridian. And then I'll use maybe the seller's last name. Whatever your system is, this is just mine. I like to be like really short and sweet, or I'll actually put the address in place. You can save templates for documents that you need. I will email you a list of documents that you need for the listing presentation. But I have I have them saved so I can pull them up easily for both buyers and sellers. So if I'm writing an offer, let's say for a VA Anchorage buyer, residential buyer Anchorage VA. So then I'll be able to pull that up and all my documents are filled out along with the cost splits between buyer and seller that are typical for VA buyers. So that's just an example, but going back to listing documents, then I'll click listing documents. I have my template in place. If I want to import data from the MLS, let's say, typically I won't because I'll start a listing with its information, and let me show you where I do that. Especially if it's a brand new listing, I won't have that information. It won't be in the MLS. If it's a listing that you're hoping to get, and add me as the listing agent, and then you can create that and it'll pull up all the documents that you need, but I've already done that. I'm gonna back up just a step. Here, going back to the main page of Flex. Here, we're going to go to the main menu. And then I'm going to add a listing. What I do here, I actually go in and we really don't have to change anything here. The listing number is myself, property is residential type. The address, you can go ahead and enter an address. Let's say we put in like 621, South Nick Goose Bay Road. Okay. The region, South Central, then it'll show us the borough, Matanuska-Susitna, or it'll be Anchorage or wherever, or the Kenai Peninsula, wherever you are. The area, because I chose the Matsu borough, then the area is Wasilla. The tax ID we can look up with the tax. Hold on, let me see if I can pull it up. With the borough tax or the muni. So for the borough tax, it's matsu.gov.us. Just bear with me as we, okay, so I'm focusing specifically on the Matsu borough for this instance. If you are going into the Anchorage muni, then it would be muni. Wait, ooh, did I draw a blank? Hold on, guys. What was this? Oh, no, I was right. Yay, I memorized it. So it's muni.org. And then here you'll be able to definitely hop in and look for the property tax information. Okay, and then going back to the Matsu Valley, my property lookup. And then just the tip here, like if you're looking owner search, you can look by last name. I'm just gonna type in the name Smith. Usually by their last name. There's a lot of Smiths, obviously, but let me try something different. Address search, if you're gonna do address search, you're actually going to look at just typing in the house numbers rather than the street name, because there was some type of glitch. So if you did like 3945 Country Field, then here you're able to click on this. And with this information, when you're looking for the tax information or the tax account number, then I would highlight, let's say, this number right here. And then I also make note of the WA10. This shows me the map information, and that helps when we're actually going to input the listing. So when we're adding the listing, so here I'm going to go ahead and paste that tax ID closest USPS town is Wasilla. We're in Alaska, the zip code, we can just drop down and then we hit next. Also, the other benefit of hopping in and looking, going into the tax record is here you have the legal address. So you'll see Country Field Estates 4, Block 1, Lot 28. Here's what's important to note about this. When you go to input or add that listing and we're actually putting in the legal address, they have guidelines here. Okay, so it's not gonna be input in all caps. So if you think, oh, great, shortcut, I'll just copy and paste it. No, they say legal should be input in title case. So just like here, it's shown Moss Creek. So we would be typing in Country Field Estates, okay? And then also, let's say it's followed by like a phase or a unit, you can put in like, for instance, Golden View, phase 2, lot 1, block 2. You definitely want to put in those phases. So for instance, going back here, you see how it's phase 4. So we do Country Field Estates 4, and you would actually, let's go back into adding that listing. You can do phase 4. And the reason I'm focused here is because with the MLS, they have a certain way they would like you to put it in. You would put in the lot and then the block. If you look at the Matsu Borough, they do block, then lot. So just be mindful to switch that around. So you'll do lot 28, block 1. So we'll do L 28. Block, did I say what? Yes. All right. So lot 28, block 1, that's our legal address. So when I'm starting to input the listing, I think this is really important. That's as much of the information as I'll put in for my listing paperwork. This is important because then there's other parts of the form where you could put the list price, the date of the listing, the expiration of the listing, active. As soon as you have paperwork signed for your listing paperwork, it must go live like within, I believe now it has changed to within 24 hours. It used to be you had 3 days to input the listing. I believe those requirements are changing as of this week. So super, super important to get the listing live and ready to go. To give you guys some guidance as far as when the order of operations, when I initially have a consultation with someone and they need a little bit of time to prepare the home to get it ready. It's like, great, when would you like to go live? When are you ready to have the house open, ready for showings? We will typically do this and ask these questions and work backwards, because then I'm going to schedule professional photos. There's a 24-hour turnaround time for photos. So what I really want to know is, okay, you're ready to go live July 1st, and I'm just making up dates here without looking at my calendar. Let's say July 1st happens to be, you know, a Thursday, and you can have your own strategies on when you would like to go live. Some strategies are, let's go live on a Thursday or a Friday, have an open house Saturday, and then we'll have showings and hopefully offers by the weekend, and we can have it negotiated by Monday. As we heard when Ed Walden was teaching, sometimes they can list on a Monday, and then that way they can negotiate those offers that come in throughout the week. So it's good to kind of see and gauge what's important to your client, but also working backwards. So if you know that they need a couple of weeks to go live, Then we'll do delayed marketing. And then you can potentially put the house in coming soon status, and you can do that up to 15 days prior to going live. So for now, we'll talk about the paperwork portion, and then we'll do another session where I walk you through that listing consultation, where it's like, okay, how do we plan our strategy session as far as timing and when to schedule what and with who and however. And so we'll do that. But paperwork wise, let's, when you're adding this listing, just to get the paperwork portion taken care of, I just want you to worry about the address and the full address. That's it. Okay. And then I'm going to save that. Let me close a couple of things here so I can see. So I'm going to save the incomplete listing. Okay, so that's been saved. Now I go into my transaction desk. And I actually have that opened already. So here I have 123 Main Street in Wasilla. I have my documents here. The very, very first document that you're going to be going over is the AREC, or I can't even talk, the Commission Consumer Disclosure. So this is it. This document, I'm going to drill into your heads, is super, 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 super important. This is the very, very first document you should be going over with anybody you have a conversation in regards to real estate. Before you take the next steps with them, as soon as you start to have a meaningful conversation regarding real estate, about what they're looking for, how you can help, you must go over this. It is Alaska statute. It's actually listed here. And I'm going to go over this with you guys, like you're my clients. Okay, so this is the way I do it. You can certainly practice, maybe sit somebody else down, see how they go over it, but this is ultimately how I go over it. So with the Alaska Real Estate Commission Consumer Disclosure, this is, one moment, please. Okay, so with the Alaska Real Estate Commission Consumer Disclosure, this is a disclosure just talking about the relationships between licensees and the consumer. I liken it to when you go to the doctor's office and they give you a HIPAA form. What are your patient rights? And in this case, in real estate, what duties do I owe you as the consumer? And how am I working for you as the licensee? And so what I tell them is, this is not a contract. And it actually states this on page 2. This consumer disclosure is not a contract. So I'll just point that out to them. This is just to inform you. Check your energy, because if you feel nervous presenting it, they can feel it. And if you feel like, oh my gosh, they're not going to sign, they can sense your energy. So check that. I used to be very nervous about presenting this and feel like I was going to get resistance. Nope. Just shake that off and just know this is an educational piece of information. So ultimately, I tell my clients, okay, so this document is just for information purposes only. This is for me to educate you on the different types of relationships that could be held between a licensee and a consumer. The first one is specific assistance. This is where the licensee does not represent you, the consumer, but I can give you information, any information that you're requesting, and there are certain duties that are owed to you. I also want you to know that under specific assistance, your information is not confidential, and this is the information and basically duties that I can owe you. Exercising reasonable skill and care, honest and good faith dealing, timely presentation of all written communication, disclosing all material information known by the licensee regarding the physical condition of the property. So say, for instance, I happen to know, that there was a leaky roof. Absolutely, I must disclose that to you. Timely accounting of all money and property received. So these are the duties that are owed to you, okay? And so up here, I don't want to skip this, but up here, basically, I summarized what I talked about. I want you all to become very familiar with contracts and any documents that you're presenting. I want you to read it word for word to become familiar with the verbiage, and you create your own summary. Okay, how would you explain it to a 12-year-old? So, so that's basically it. How would you explain this to someone and also make sure that you're covering these points, that they understand what you are presenting to them? And I do a presentation because I think it's very, very important, rather than stick a piece of paper in front of them. Read this and sign. I want you to present yourselves as the expert. You are the professional and the expert. So, so basically, under specific assistance, you can represent another party in the transaction, and under specific assistance, you can, you're just offering them help. This is often, I can see this playing out, like if I have a listing and someone reaches out to me and wants me to potentially write an offer, I represent the seller. There's many ways that could play out though, but I'm giving you one example. I represent the seller, but someone wants me to write an offer, and they're totally cool with that. They don't necessarily need representation. And they understand I represent the seller and I'm just assisting them in this real estate transaction. Then I must go over this first, okay? Next is representation. This takes it one step further in the relationship, where all the duties that are owed under specific assistance are also owed under representation. And in addition to that, and that covers it here in A, all duties owed by a licensee providing specific assistance. So we already went over that. Not intentionally taking actions which are adverse or detrimental to the consumer, and timely disclosure of all conflicts of interest to the consumer. Advising the consumer to seek independent expert advice if it matters outside my area of expertise. I use this as an example, like, let's say for instance, what are the tax implications of selling your home? Well, I'm going to refer you to your CPA or your accountant, whoever does your taxes, and they are your, matter expert in the situation. So those are things we go over. Not disclosing confidential information during or after representation without written consent of the consumer unless required by law. And then also making a good faith and continuous effort to accomplish your client's real estate objectives. Super, super important. So their information is confidential. Neutral licensee, this occurs where we're not representing either buyer or seller. There is no representation. We are working as an intermediary, and it's a very trusted position. And I'm going to talk to you like if you were my client. So in this position, we have to have prior authorization from both the buyer and the seller prior to moving into this type of relationship. There is a separate form that they would need to sign, giving us authorization to move forward, working as a neutral licensee. And all the duties that are owed, they cover it here under representation. But here's the important part. There's a whole nother form, and we'll cover this in another at another time. But with neutral licensee, it is a very trusted position. You have to be respectful of the buyer and seller, and you can't tell the seller how high a buyer is willing to go, and you can't tell the seller how low or how high a buyer is willing. Did I say that right? Yes, how high a buyer is willing to pay, and vice versa. And then it goes over duties not owed by a licensee. So you guys can read this and then also present that. The second page is the acknowledgement form that your client has acknowledged receiving this information. And so brokerage name, licensee name, you can input it here, we can type it. Consumer name, you can type that all in and then print the documents out. An addendum is or is not attached. Because my husband is, also licensed and we are on a team. I do add it in, so if you're on a team, you would add it in. And then you would add an additional licensee there, and then your client would sign at the very bottom. Okay, and it just talks about what type of relationship is there. So that's basically that. Let me go back. I will send you guys a list of documents that you need for your listing presentation, and this was just one part of it. Ultimately, you'll need the exclusive right to sell document. And just for sake of time, I will give you guys highlights on this so we can get started with the next part of the class, and I'll record a separate session for you guys with like a whole listing presentation. And I'll get it sent out to you guys so we can get started with our next class. But basically, the document that you'll need is the exclusive right to sell agreement. We went over the AREC just now. That's number one, super important. Buyer presentation, listing presentation, you have to go over that document. And then when you're ready to get together for the listing, this is the document that you'll need to go over. Yeah, because we are running out of time, I will just go over this with you guys in a separate session. But this talks about how, what type of representation, when are you going to begin marketing? If you're gonna be delayed, are you ready to go now, or are you going and coming soon? And then what's the list price? What have you guys agreed upon? And then compensation is negotiable. We have to have that conversation that our clients understand that compensation is negotiable. And then we discuss what commission we want to take on, and if there's any other admin fees to add to that. And then also, is there compensation being offered to the selling brokerage? We would be the listing brokerage. The selling brokerage is the brokerage that's representing the buyer. Oftentimes I have clients that get confused by listing and selling verbiage. They're like, listing, selling, I thought you were selling. It can sound confusing, but we are the listing licensee. And the buyer's representative is the selling licensee, okay? So I hope that helps. What else do we have here? Okay, and then also if there's like a referral fee or other compensation paid, if you happen to get a referral from a different brokerage, then you would put that here. But if it happens to be KW, this is not necessary. We actually take care of it within Command. And we'll be able to walk you through like step by step on how to fill this out. But I'll be preparing a video to be able to help you guys with that. And then this just talks about information, what information the seller's providing, and the Alaska Multiple Listing Service, that MLS, Alaska Multiple Listing Service, is a database. That is where we're inputting all the information, and that's where you're gathering information. It's a big database for us to be able to find out comparable sales. It also helps appraisers to be able to pull up stats. What has sold? How much did it sell for? And it's not open to the public. I want to make a note on this, that we are a non-disclosure state. Not every state is a non-disclosure state. In some states, you can find out what buyers paid for their property, what was sold, etc. In Alaska, no, it's confidential information. So we are a non-disclosure state. So the general public does not know how much you sold your property for or how much you purchased the property for. This information is made available to appraisers and for us to be able to pull data moving forward. And it's not open to the general public. What they see is maybe the last list price, and that's it. So what we see is not necessarily what the general public sees. Then here it gives us authorization to put a sign on a lockbox. And sometimes we'll have situations where maybe sellers might not want a sign out, and then we can cover that with another form. There's property maintenance. They are responsible for their own property maintenance. And then also they're required to fill out a disclosure. We'll cover that when I go over this in detail, but ultimately this is the document. That is the listing contract. Okay, so I just want to point out how you get kind of initially set up, and then we'll go over it later. Okay, so for now, we will pause. I'll get out of these.